Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Sever7, and today we're taking a look at the Piratch Slippy Tsunami, and that's with the ultimate goal of seeing if it's worth adding to your collection or your daily carry rotation. Now, this knife did come in from the Lefty Pass-Around group. It was designed by Piratch, and it was OEM'd. I believe Piratch is their own OEM, but somebody in the comments correct me if I'm wrong. Now, this knife has a couple of interesting things going on. For starters, we've got the blue denim micarta onlays, and I call them onlays because they do pop off, just like that. We have 4 magnets holding the scales on, and you can't accidentally take the scales off, right? No matter what you do, these scales are not going to come off on you. They're held in very tight, very secure. You can't just like knock them off, right? You have to deliberately come to the very bottom, get your nail into there, which they leave a little gap for, and then pull the scale off. Anything shy of that, like even if I drop it, the scales aren't coming off. We have nice gray titanium scales, and they run this color on their base versions of their knives, this kind of like plain titanium, and I really like it. It looks super clean and super classy. Piratch is a classy knife company. Their logo, very minimalistic. It is a Kraken, and then over here it just says Piratch, also very classy. But otherwise, a really nice closed profile. The micarta feels really good. It has been used a lot, and it has not been like cleaned or kept up with. That's just from going around the pass around group. But the micarta is nice and grippy and does add meaningful traction. I don't love the fact that the holes are visible, but we'll come back and we'll talk about those in just a little bit. Let's talk about the ergonomics. So as far as the ergos go, we get a little thinner and then we fatten out. So where we get thicker, this is going to be where the knife kind of anchors into your palm, right? So I'm going to hold it, pointer finger in this really nice, comfortable chamfered area. And then the rest of my finger, or the rest of my hand rather, is going to grip back here. And then my pinky and my ring finger are going to be anchored in with this thick part back here. So you feel completely locked in. The knife feels very secure in hand. Despite being smaller in size, this back part here is kind of what makes it hand filling, right? So it feels really good. There's no pocket clip, so there's no hot spots. It does, however, come with this very classy leather sheath. We've got the low profile Piratch branding, nothing on the back. So this is just a pocket drop, and I'll demonstrate that. It slides in nice and easy, and you just drop it in your pocket. I believe there's clips possibly that you can like stick right here and then attach to your pants. I'm not 100% sure, but honestly, I've been carrying it as a pocket drop with the sheath, and it's been great. Very high quality sheath, by the way. Now, let's talk a little bit about the blade. So we've got a very nice harpoon drop point style blade, very thin, and then this harpoon gives it just a little bit of aggression, which I really like. We are rocking what feels like a hollow grind. Let me clean this up a little bit. We're rocking a hollow grind with a very nice, oh, sorry for the shake. Man, that hasn't happened in forever. Machine belt satin. Looks very good. We are rocking S90V So S90V is going to have okay toughness. It has amazing edge retention, like phenomenal. Like buy the knife, and then whenever you pass it on to your children, they'll sharpen it. Okay, maybe not that good, but S90V's got really good edge retention. And then it's very corrosion resistant. So S90V is actually my all-time favorite steel, right up there with M398. So this knife is going to be, well, it's not the sliciest geometry. It's still going to be very slicey. It's still going to cut through, the packages you need with ease. Amazon boxes, dog food, cat food. I wouldn't take this to the factory to chop boxes all day long because the geometry isn't lending itself to that. But with how thin the blade gets behind the edge, it's going to do all of the normal slicing stuff that you would typically use your EDC knife for with ease. The pivot pinch is nice, and you can get behind here. This is far enough out that, if you put pressure on this, it's not going to, it's not going to disengage the knife on you. Now, speaking of disengagement, with slip joints, there's always, for slip joints that have a half stop, there always is a concern that when you go to push it closed, you're going to catch your finger. This, on the other hand, has a nice, 1/3 stop, so I have plenty of clearance in here. Now, you always want to two-hand close your slip joints just to be safe, but if you did disengage it, you got plenty of clearance there, right? So the blade is going to lend itself very nicely to EDC stuff, and it just looks nice. Like it's a really slim, semi-aggressive profile. I'm a huge fan. Now, normally, here, let's talk a little bit about the sharpening life. Oh, I didn't realize that's where it says S90V. I was going to clean it out because there's some oil in there. So as far as the sharpening life goes, it's the choil starts inside the scales, but I can tell you that it's plenty thin all throughout here. Oh, sorry, it'd be easier if you guys could see it. It's thin all throughout here, so you guys are going to get plenty of sharpening life out of it. Although, after so many sharpenings, the blade's going to look pretty thin. So I would say with the edge retention of S90V, though, this knife is going to last you, quite some time. So I don't think you have any concerns there. Two things I want to talk about. One, we'll cover the walk and talk first. So acoustics. It's probably, I don't know, I'd say a 6 out of 10 by itself as far as walk and talk goes. There's no acoustics for the third stop. I mean, barely. But then the acoustics for the lockout is really good. The reason the walk and talk and the acoustics are important is because with this knife, you can actually adjust them. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a scale off. And you see we've got these 3 holes here. Whenever you buy this knife, you get 2 of these pins, very classy. You get 2 of these pins included. And what you can do is if you want to strengthen the walk and talk, you would insert a pin in the bottom slot. You would place the scale over it. And then you get a stiffer and louder walk and talk. Kind of hear the difference. And you can see physically I'm having to put more effort into opening and closing it. So there's 2 other settings, and it goes with no pin is the lightest setting, with a pin in the bottom is slightly stronger. Oh, wrong side. With the pin here, it's slightly stronger, then it's much stronger, and then it's insanely strong. So let's go ahead and move this pin up a spot and try that out. So this to me is entirely too strong. Because it's a nail nick, you don't get quite, well, never mind, you do. You get enough to pinch open it. I was going to say you have to use your nail, but I just discovered that you in fact don't have to use your nail. So, sorry, I was trying to close it and I went off camera. But yeah, it's just insanely stiff on the second setting. And I'll tell you right now, on the third setting, I can't physically open it. And like, I'm not a weak guy. Like, I'm not a little dude, right? Nothing against little dudes, but I'm just saying that like my strength isn't the reason that I can't open this. It's just because that third setting it's ridiculously tough. Just for the sake of science, I'll go ahead and give it a try. So we're in that top spot. Yeah. Without grabbing onto the blade, I don't have enough traction with the amount of force required. And if I use my nail, I can't. Yeah, I can't open it on the third setting. So, not that that's a problem. If the third setting doesn't work, simply don't go to it. For me personally, I would ignore the toughest setting and the second toughest setting, and I would either go with no pin or a pin in the bottom spot. I think these are both good based on your preferences. If you want a stiffer walk and talk, or if you want a lighter one. There's probably like a YouTube video or a short where some guy's leisurely opening this on the third spot. But I think personally, like I said, hold on, there we go. The lowest setting or no pin at all is going to be where the money's at. See, this one, easy money. You can just grab it. You don't have to use your nail. And it works great. Still good acoustics, still good everything. Now, as far as the knife itself goes, and we'll jump into specs and stuff like that here in a second, but you know, just pulling the knife out of the box and using it with no pin in there, the action feels really good, right? The walk and talk is good. The action feels good. It's not, a huge struggle to open it. If you don't have like good finger strength, then it might still be a bit of a pain. But if your finger strength is fine, getting this open and closed is not a problem. All right, so let's talk about specs, and then we'll get into final thoughts. Overall, we are at 6.815 inches. We have a blade length of 2.874 inches, and then a blade to handle ratio of 0.73. 0.73 on this knife, I think, looks perfectly fine. It looks nice and balanced. Big fan of the open profile of this knife as well. And then as far as weight, we're coming in at 2.9 ounces. Let's do some size comparisons. Up against the milled aluminum Civivi Brazen, one of the best Civivis ever made. Up against the real steel Sylph, made slightly shorter because I rolled the tip. And then up against one of my favorite budget knives of the year so far, the Migron Gotov. And we are much more in line with the size of the Gotov. Okay, so I rushed through that because I wanted to get to final thoughts. So once again, ignoring the pin placement, just pulling this knife out of the box and using it as is, I think this knife is terrific. Very comfortable in hand, very utility focused. I mean, you still have a very robust tip and still having a very, very slicey blade. The thing carries like invisibly in your pocket, even with the sheath. Like it, I would sometimes forget that I even had it. Like it's so nice and compact and lightweight. I mean, the profile of the sheath, it's flatter than a normal knife and shorter than a normal knife, right? So like it carries really, really nice and light. Huge fan of the way this knife looks. Huge fan of the ergonomics. The price on this knife is coming in at $265. So $265. Now keep in mind, there's some people that are like, "Oh, it's a slip joint. I would never buy a slip joint." Like, okay, I get it, right? That's you, okay. But the knife being a slip joint doesn't devalue the knife. It's not easier to machine because it's a slip joint. You know, it's not a lesser item or a worse knife because it's a slip joint. There's plenty of people, myself included, that really appreciate slip joints. They're just cool, right? It's neat, and it's a different type of action. Like walk and talk is nice. You know, it's not going to be super fidgety, but it's like a different kind of fidget, right? Where you just open it, close it, just a different type. But it's hard to quantify. I don't know exactly what it is about this knife that makes me love it so much. But since I've had it, it's been pretty much glued to my pocket. This knife doesn't belong to me, but I'm going to try to pick one up because this is probably my favorite slip joint of the year. Not that I've reviewed a ton, but I've handled a ton, and I like this one quite a bit. It kind of reminds me of, I don't know, like if Chris Reeve made a slip joint. I don't know, he's got the Menandy or something like that, but it just kind of gives me like mini Sabenza vibes, and I really like that. You know, it's just a good, solid, not quite fifth pocket, but just a good, solid, tiny knife. Oh, and the other thing I almost completely forgot. These scales are swappable. So they've got crystal titanium scales. They've got, I think, zircotite scales. They have all sorts of different colors. You have to check them out because that's one of the coolest things about this knife is that you can dress it up, right? So like, you know, for me, I wouldn't rock the micarta, but I would absolutely rock the crystal titanium. I think it would be awesome if they came out with some zircotite scales because I would rock the hell out of that too. But that's about it in a nutshell. If you guys haven't checked out Pyrotech, they have an awesome design aesthetic, super classy brand, much more affordable than the look of the knife would suggest. And I think 265 for this is a great price, especially since you're getting S90V. You know, and I know this one is going to be subjective. And like I said, even I don't quite know why I love this knife so much, but it's just, to me, it's greater than the sum of its parts. And it's just been a delight to use. So, what about for you guys? You know, and I need to change these questions. I actually hate asking them now. Typically, I would say, is this a collection piece or a daily user? For me, it's a daily user. But like, I don't see many people collecting this knife per se. I mean, yeah, a knife that's 265 could be collected, but I think most people would daily carry this, right? So I'm going to try to come up with some different questions because now every time I ask them, I'm just like, ugh, I feel like I know the answer. So anyway, if you guys like the video, hit the like button. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. And until the next time, guys, peace.